I found my wife's secret affair with her boss, who's been stealing over $250, $0 from our family business, and now she's suing me for half the estate after I uncovered the truth. These lies ran so deep I don't know who to trust anymore. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. It started with something small, a little oddity that I brushed off at first. My wife Lisa had always been a bit of a drama queen, loud, bitchy, quick to lie. But lately she'd been acting even stranger. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and her phone was glued to her hand, always hiding texts. I didn't want to believe it, but I could feel it creeping in. Something was off. One day I was at work and decided to check her phone. I know, terrible move, but I was desperate for some clarity. I unlocked her device and what I found hit me like a freight train. There were messages, flirty, suggestive, downright inappropriate. She was talking to her boss, Jason, and it wasn't just about work. No, they'd been sneaking around for months. I saw texts about secret dinners, late nights, and even plans to meet up when I was out of town. What made it worse? The amount of money Jason had been siphoning from our family business. Over $250, $0 gone just like that. I couldn't believe my eyes. My wife, the woman I'd trusted implicitly, was not only cheating on me but also complicit in theft. She was lying to my face, pretending everything was fine while she was screwing her boss and helping him steal from us. I felt my stomach turn. Anger, betrayal, confusion all hit me at once. I couldn't breathe. I kept reading, desperate to understand how deep this betrayal went. That's when I saw the emails, proof of her involvement, her scheming with Jason. They'd planned everything. It was like a punch in the gut. I had thought she was my partner, my wife, the one person I could trust. Turns out, she was the biggest lie I'd ever told myself was true. It was a shock I didn't see coming. And yet there it was. My life was unraveling fast. The moment I saw those messages, everything changed. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. My mind was racing. How long has she been doing this? Was I blind or just stupid? I stared at the screen, trying to process what I'd uncovered. She had been hiding this from me for months, maybe even longer. And the worst part, she had the nerve to lie to my face every day, acting like everything was fine, acting like she loved me. I remember the feeling of my hands trembling as I clenched my fists. My first instinct was to confront her right then and there. I had to hear her lie to see how deep her deception went. That night, I waited until she came home. When she stepped inside, I was already in the living room, phone in hand. She saw the look on my face and immediately started with her usual bitchy attitude. "What's wrong, Jim? Why are you acting so paranoid?" I didn't hold back. I threw the phone on the table and showed her the messages. Her eyes widened, and for a moment she looked genuinely stunned, then her face twisted into that familiar sneer. "Oh, come on, Jim. This is just work talk. You're overreacting," she spat, but her voice was shaky. I could see she was trying to lie her way out of it as always. I told her I knew everything about Jason, the theft, the lies. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're crazy. You're just jealous because Jason pays more attention to me than you do. It's not a big deal. We're just friends. You're overthinking everything." That's when I lost it. The rage boiled over. How could she be so dismissive? How could she sit there and lie so effortlessly? I felt like I was losing my mind. She kept pushing, trying to play the victim, crying fake tears, saying I was paranoid, insecure, and that I was ruining everything. But I knew the truth. I knew she'd been cheating on me, stealing from us and lying through her teeth. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't deny it anymore. My whole world was crashing down around me. I was furious, hurt, and confused all at once. The trust I'd built with her over years was gone. In an instant, replaced by this bitter realization. She'd been using me and betraying me all along. After that night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything I'd uncovered, every lie she'd told, every secret message I'd seen. It was like a switch had flipped inside me. I started thinking about how deep the betrayal went, not just emotionally but financially. That $250, $0 Jason had stolen. How much of that was thanks to Lisa's involvement? Did she know exactly how much he was taking? Was she complicit from the very beginning, or did she just fall into it because she was too afraid to say no? I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with this, her lies, her theft, her cheating. But I also knew I needed proof, something concrete to confront her properly, maybe even take to a lawyer. So I started digging into our bank accounts, the business records, anything that could shed light on how much she'd known or helped. I found out that Jason had been funneling money through fake invoices, and Lisa had been right there, approving them, signing off on the documents. She'd been right in the thick of it. The next day I decided to confront her again, this time with real evidence. I sat her down in our living room, calm but furious. "Lisa," I said, "I know everything about the affair, the theft, the lies. I have the proof now." Her face went pale for a second, then she snapped back at me. "You're crazy, Jim. You're just jealous. Jason's a good man. You're just jealous because I'm more successful than you. That's why you're doing this." I couldn't believe her audacity. She was trying to spin it like I was the one with the problem. I told her I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore, that I had enough evidence to take legal action, to report her involvement, and to protect what was left of our business and our family. That's when her bitchy attitude turned into outright anger. She started yelling, calling me a jealous, insecure idiot, and said she'd sue me for everything I had if I tried to ruin her reputation. Her words cut deep, but I knew I had to stay firm. I couldn't let her keep lying. This had gone far enough. My trust was shattered. And I realized I'd been living in a house of lies for too long. It was time to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I kept digging into everything: bank statements, emails, legal documents. I needed to build a case, not just emotionally but legally. The more I uncovered, the more I realized how deeply involved Lisa was in Jason's scheme. She wasn't just a bystander, she was an active participant. Approving fake invoices, helping hide the money, even lying to me about her whereabouts when she was with Jason. It all fit together like a twisted puzzle I never wanted to see. One afternoon, I found a series of emails from Lisa to Jason, where she explicitly discussed how to split the stolen money. She was planning her escape route, talking about how to hide assets and avoid detection. I felt my stomach turn again. The person I'd trusted most in this world was planning her betrayal right under my nose, and I had been blind to it for so long. It was like a punch in the gut every time I thought about how she'd lied to me, how she'd manipulated me into thinking everything was fine. I started to feel angry, not just at Lisa but at myself for not seeing it sooner. I've been so caught up in our day-to-day life, in trying to make everything perfect, that I missed the signs. I had given her my trust, my love, my hard-earned money, and she'd thrown it all away for some affair and a few stolen dollars. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. I knew I had to act fast. I contacted a lawyer, someone who specialized in financial crimes and marital disputes. I wanted to make sure I had everything documented, every piece of evidence, so I could protect my rights and our family's assets. I also started secretly recording her conversations, just in case she tried to deny everything later. I didn't trust her anymore. She'd lied so much that I didn't know what was real. The worst part: every time I looked at her, I saw the girl I married. Her bitchy smirk, her quick temper, her lies. I felt sick thinking about all the years I'd spent defending her, believing she was the one I could trust. Now it was clear she'd been playing me all along. I was angry, broken, and yet I knew I had to stay strong. If I was going to fight this, I had to be meticulous, cold even, because this was war, and I refused to lose everything I'd worked for. The legal process moved faster than I expected once I had all my evidence in order. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity, financial fraud, and breach of trust. The moment I handed over the documents, Lisa's bitchy attitude turned even nastier. She started throwing tantrums, yelling about how I was ruining her reputation and how she'd fight me in court. Honestly, I didn't care about her threats anymore. I'd seen her true face, and I was done pretending everything was okay. In the weeks that followed, she tried to spin everything to her friends and family, claiming I was a jealous, controlling husband who was just jealous of her success. She even went as far as to say I was abusive, which made my blood boil. I knew her game, playing the victim, twisting the facts, trying to turn everyone against me. But I had the proof, and I was prepared to face her lies head-on. I hired a private investigator to follow her around, looking for any signs of her trying to hide assets or meet Jason secretly. The evidence confirmed my suspicions. She was planning to move out of state with some of the stolen money, trying to start fresh without any consequences. The courtroom battles were intense. Lisa's lawyer tried to claim she was innocent, that she had no idea about the thefts or Jason's schemes. But I had the emails, the bank records, and the witness statements. The judge looked at everything and saw through her lies like glass. It was satisfying to see her get called out for her deception, her lies unraveling in front of everyone. I knew I'd done the right thing by exposing her. She was a master manipulator, but I had the truth, and that's what mattered. Meanwhile, I took control of the business's finances. I worked with accountants and auditors to recover as much of the stolen money as possible. Jason was arrested, of course, and the authorities started investigating him for embezzlement. It was a messy, painful process, but I felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally taking back control of what I could, the business, my life, my future. Looking back, I realize how much I lost, my trust, my marriage, my sense of security. But I also gained clarity. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you can be the biggest liars, and those lies can destroy everything you built. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll never let someone betray me like that again. Trust is fragile, and now I see that more clearly than ever. If you're ever in a similar situation, don't ignore the signs and don't be afraid to fight for what's right, even if it's ugly. Because in the end, the truth is the only thing that can set you free. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this ordeal has changed me. I used to believe in fairness, trust, and that people were inherently good. But betrayal has a way of stripping all that away. I've learned that some people are just good at hiding their true selves, like Lisa, who played the perfect wife for years, all the while scheming behind my back. It's a hard lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. I've also come to understand that revenge isn't about hurting someone back, at least not anymore. It's about reclaiming your life, protecting what's yours, and making sure the truth comes out. I never wanted to be that guy who destroys everything, but sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. I had to expose her lies, her theft, her betrayal, because I couldn't live in a house of lies anymore. And honestly, it's been a relief to finally have everything out in the open. The weight of the secret was crushing. Moving forward, I've decided to rebuild my life on my own terms. I've cut ties with Lisa completely. The business is recovering, and I'm focused on making it stronger than ever. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional scars. Trust doesn't come easily anymore, but I'm working on it. I've learned that honesty, even when it hurts, is always better than living in deception. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Don't let your love blind you to the truth. Sometimes, the person you trust most is the one who can hurt you the worst. But remember, you're stronger than you think. Facing the ugly truth is never easy, but it's the only way to truly move on. Trust is fragile, but your strength is. Keep fighting, keep believing in yourself, and never let betrayal define who you are.